Hey, Truthanizer, Luke here. One of the most important aspects of public health is cleanliness. Think to yourself, when was the last time you were around something that was really clean? Or even worse, when you were around something that wasn't? Just earlier today, I found a bunch of dishes in my sink, and these dishes were not clean. Which, of course, raises the question, whose dishes are they? I think it's time to get truthanized. It's probably something you've experienced in your own life. It's seemingly commonplace to find a sink and then look inside of it, and there they are, dishes. And in this case, not fit for human use because they're dirty. But how do we know whose dirty dishes they are? I think it's time we dove a little deeper. Dishes are actually a pretty long-standing part of human civilization. We have found dishes as far back as ancient Sumeria, or probably places like that. So why are humans the only ones who use dishes? Why don't we see dishes being used by birds or squirrels? Why are we the only ones with sinks? Well, the most likely answer is that scientists have found it's actually better to eat things off of clean dishes than off of the goddamn filthy floor. But what does that mean we should do? Well, the question of ownership is also one that has a pretty long history. John Locke intimated the processes of property when he said, if you own it, that's yours. So, who's to blame? Most current theories of ownership say that if you buy a thing, then you own it and you have responsibility for it. But they're my dishes. Well, more realistically, my mom bought them for me. So, does that mean my mom is supposed to clean my dishes? So, I tried calling my mom, and she was frankly not very responsive to the idea that she cleans a full-grown adult, dishes, and if anything, got kind of defensive about it. So, what does that mean? I looked into it further, and I actually found a paper from recently which said that when you use a dish, you get it dirty, which would imply that the person who uses a dish is responsible for its dirtiness. And this is something we can actually see a lot of agreement about in modern culture and across societies across the world. So now all that remains is to find out who used the dishes that are now dirty. Considering that I've been on lockdown for several months now, there's only one of the 3 roommates who live in our apartment that could have left these dirty dishes. One of them is out of town, one of them is me, and that just leaves one more culprit. But what do you do if the only possible suspect isn't home right now? Because, say, she has a job and is actually working it. I think then we have to turn to science. Now, interestingly enough, this is actually where chemistry can come into play. If I take this glass, which was found in my sink, dirty, and I analyzed the chemicals that were in it, I could then try to ascertain what chemicals it had come in contact with, say, like the ones in a person's body.
Perhaps this is best explained through a computer rendering. In this animation, you can see how human bodies are actually full of chemicals, such as nitrogen. And when a body comes in contact with dishes, some of those chemicals get left behind. What we have to do then is to analyze these chemicals for their scientific makeup. But actually, I think I just heard my roommate come home.
So I'm going to ask my expert roommate, Susanna, for advice on this. Her job has something to do with chemicals. So, Susanna, how would we go about examining the dishes in the sink to learn chemically who they belong to?
Chemistry. Well, I know that those are your dishes.
This week's episode is brought to you by Brilliant. Are you dumb but like to think you're smart? Try Brilliant. They make basic concepts digestible even for numbskulls like you, and they're constantly adding new courses. Courses like physics that you'll never use, and obscure things to bore people at parties with. Sign up for a free trial now, and then you can go back to huffing glue and slamming your illiterate head into a wall.